Hi, Guy. Man, you were incredible in the Infernal Machine, man. You're always incredible. So I expected nothing less. But thank you for
Thank you
taking
very much.
yeah. Thank you for taking your Saturday morning to talk with me.
That's all right. It's quite all right. It's a lovely morning here in New Zealand, so
Nice,
easy.
nice. I'm in Austin, Texas, and as soon as I get
Ah,
off, yeah, I'm
my
flying to
favorite
Nashville.
town. You're flying where?
I'm going to Nashville. As soon as this conversation is over, I have to rush to the airport.
Okay,
Um,
all right. Well, yeah. I
well,
love Austin. I've done a couple of films in Austin, and it's one of my favorite towns in the entire world. So,
yeah, this is my first time here. I'm here for another junket, and yeah, it's my first time. I've really enjoyed it. First off, though, to keep it on the movie, did you have any idea before you did this movie that you would look so rugged in a straw cowboy hat?
and a skanky old dressing gown.
No, I say that as a guy from Nashville. I mean, it's not an easy look to pull off, and you do it.
Okay, well, thank you. No, I didn't know that. It was funny actually because it was one of the things that I sort of noticed the costume and clothes description in the film, in the script as I was reading it, but it didn't mean a whole lot to me at the time. I was really just focused on what was going on internally for this character. And then, of course, when we got to the costume fitting and the costume designer had really honored what Andrew had specifically kind of written, because obviously the character is trying to emulate on some level, other writers in how they appear. And
Right.
but that hadn't really sort of dawned on me so much. So it was great when we did the costume fitting. It was like, oh, right, okay, yeah, so he's doing this and it's these kind of shirts and okay. And that actually really spoke to more of the character anyway. So it was a great, it is one of those things actually. It's a bit of a final, piece of assistance when you're finding the character, the costume. I mean, remember when you did Priscilla, and that's obviously a really extreme version, as soon as you put those costumes on, because we were rehearsing and going, right, how do I, is this going to be right? Is this, and as soon as you put the costumes on, you're like, okay, got it.
Yeah, actually, I think that's
doing
that's
all the work for you,
It's a good segue into my next question, which was, you talked about him emulating other writers, but was there any particular author that you sort of looked to or you were inspired by when portraying Bruce Cogburn?
No. And to be transparent, I'm not a great reader. I've got terrible eyesight, and I always really resisted reading when I was a kid. And so I it's a world that I have a huge appreciation for, but I really feel like I'm out of my depth when it comes to writers and authors and just the brilliance of that world. So I didn't feel like I had anybody that I was aware of enough to draw on, but at the same time, I didn't feel like I needed to really. I was drawing on what was in the script, and I was drawing on just the state of this guy at this point in his life, and that really he has, on one level, real almost big-headed confidence about his ability, and on another level is absolutely insecure about who he is. So it was I was sort of dealing with all that stuff,
Yeah. Well, I don't want to get too deep into spoilers, but I think the movie does a great job of conceptualizing how dangerous people can become when they believe that they don't matter. So was that a theme that was attractive to you in any way when you read the script?
Yes, absolutely. And it's an amazing sort of entity or it's an incredible thing in our lives and in our world that people can create art, and the result of that art or the result of that act, whatever it might be, really varies across the board, and it ranges from it changing people's lives to the most moving and uplifting and enlightening ways. And on the other end of the spectrum, it apparently can cause utter mayhem, and there's a massive sort of sliding scale, between the two. And because you've got the artists out there who are trying to have an effect on people, and you've got the artists out there who are just doing their thing, and it's having an effect on people, and it's completely out of their hands. And so it's a really fascinating kind of arena that exists, I think. And, obviously, there's always a lot of discussion when you talk about, the couple of obvious examples like Charles Manson and the killings and the use of the term helter skelter and what that must have been like for Paul McCartney at the time, and that he apparently incited this, and you kind of just go, whoa, this is crazy stuff.
Yeah.
You know, this is kind of really crazy. And in fact, Silverchair, an Australian band, there'd been a shooting, I think, in America, and the guys who'd committed the act, you know, blamed it on Israel's Son, this song that, you know, that Silverchair had written. Of course, the Silverchair, they were like 14, 15 at the time, and they wrote the song. They're like, what? You know, so it's fascinating because you're dealing with, you know, I suppose on many levels you're dealing with people's vulnerability. And who knows what direction that can go in. So yeah, it was a really interesting aspect to the story that this writer who'd, you know, written this book had apparently caused this absolute mayhem.
Yeah.
And now we find him sort of years later still dealing with it.
Yeah, it was probably my favorite theme in the movie as a whole. But you know, you've had this incredible career where you've played so many fictional characters, but you've also been able to portray real life people. I mean, like King Edward and Warhol, Houdini. I mean, you just got this, you know, list of people that you've played. Is there any difference in how you approach playing a fictional character versus playing a real life person?
Well, I suppose there is, in that, I mean, ultimately, in the end, you're just looking to find the truth of that character, whether they existed or whether they didn't. Because in the end, in my head, they have to be real, you know. So, but yes, of course, when you're playing someone who has existed, you then start looking for whatever material you can find on them, and whether it's, you know, if it's Houdini and you're dealing with, you know, the early 20s or the teens of the first part of the 20th century. You know, you've got a limited amount of stuff to work with. Whereas if you're playing Warhol, who filmed everything he did and filmed it, you know, there's just wall to wall stuff. Right. And that's if I and if any other actor believe they really have something in themselves that can get to the point of being able to play those characters, it's really exciting. It's really exciting when you're mining through that stuff going, okay, it's that, you know, it's great, you know. I mean, you're also then, you're very aware of the legacy of those people and wanting to honor that, not wanting to muck it up and get it wrong, you know, so there's pressure as well.
I can imagine.
But ultimately you get to a point, I think, if you feel like it's in your body, you get to the point where that stuff doesn't matter anymore. You just, if you believe it yourself as an actor, then you're just off and running. You know. Right.
All right. So, you know, I work with ComicBook.com. So if you'll indulge me, I have to ask a couple of nerdy questions, and you just feel free to say no comment, or I don't want to talk about it. Just whatever. I don't, you know. But last time we talked, you said that if Aldrich Killian ever came back to the MCU, you know, maybe you can convince them to bring me on as your little brother. So I just wanted to touch base and see
whether I've worked on that. I can't. So I'm still waiting on an email back from the guys at Marvel. It's been a couple of years now, but I'll let you know.
All right, I appreciate that.
A positive response on that. I still think it's a good idea.
I think so too. I think you really hit the nail on the head. I think I mean, obviously I'm the less attractive younger brother, but that's fine. I mean, I don't know about that. No, you stop it. You're just being nice to me, Mr. Pearce. There is no shortage.
Better hair, that's for sure.
Oh no, well, thank you. It's like the only thing that I've got going for me right now, but I appreciate that. There is actually no shortage of places that like Killian could return, right? You know, we got Armor Wars, Thunderbolts, and we know, you know, Sir Ben Kingsley is returning for the Wonder Man series. So I was just wondering if you have spoken to Ben at all over the last couple of years about coming back to the MCU.
No, I haven't actually. And I suppose I'd just written off the idea because of what happened to Aldrich Killian at the end of Iron Man 3. But at the same time, you know, within those worlds, kind of anything's possible. And yet I still haven't received a call from anyone at Marvel. So I'm not sure if it's in the works, but who knows, you know.
You know what? I don't have any pull whatsoever, but if I talk to anybody I'm going to be like, you got to bring Killian back.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll work on this. We'll work on this together.
Fantastic. We'll tag team it. It'll be great. Last question. You know, there's a new Alien TV series and there's been concept art that's come out with a Wayland ship. So, you know, just any chance that we might be seeing you pop up even as a hologram?
Well, I think if anything, it probably would be a hologram. I've not been asked about that. So, and, you know, I am looking more and more like the version of Peter Wayland who we saw in Prometheus.
No, it's not true.
So, so there'd be less prosthetic work to be done than the 5 hours that we had to achieve, that we had to get through back in 2011, because it's been 10 years now.
Thank you so much. I mean, you're one of my favorite actors. And that's no smoke. I mean, I really enjoy all of your work, and every time I've got to talk to you, it's a pleasure. So thank you so much for taking the time.
Well, likewise, Chris. It's good to see you again.